Empirical evidence suggests that it can be effective in the US. It may not be effective, as in the case of Japan. In the case of Europe, a big question mark. It really depends on the individual economy, I suppose. But I come back to the question of the intertemporal shift of the intermediation spread. If interest rates are so low and maybe even negative, and suggesting that intermediation spread from the user's side is so small, once again, that intertemporal shift it amounts to actually kicking the can down the line. You are postponing the problem. You may actually be making the problem even bigger. Now that's my worry. If you ask me whether I'm in favor of quantitative easing or negative interest rates, I would say no, I'm not in favor of it. I'm in favor of exercising a bit of fiscal discipline and saving a bit more money rather than just spending beyond your means. Quantitative easing obviously has side effects. By making money very abundant and at the same time pushing the price of money or interest rate very low, obviously would benefit certain people with the wherewithal to borrow. But there are a lot of people that cannot borrow because they don't simply have bricks to mortgage, right? One side effect of very easy money is obviously disparity of income and wealth getting worse, and asset price inflation as well. Now, this is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not really just peculiar to Hong Kong. Now, these side effects have to be recognized by policymakers, not just central banks. And policymakers will need to address these issues. The disparity of income and wealth is getting worse and worse in Hong Kong. Housing is very, very difficult problem. It's a very deep-rooted problem. We must try our best to resolve this problem. It's really confidence of those people who are using the Hong Kong dollar, confidence of ourselves, the community of Hong Kong. There is international confidence as well, but confidence is built upon facts. You know, we have huge foreign reserves, we have a very robust system and transparent system. That's how confidence is built up over the years. I'm not particularly worried about the Hong Kong dollar's link to the US dollar at all. Actually, what I'm more worried actually is again arising from the possibility of the US taking certain actions against China or even Hong Kong on the financial front. That's really not very advisable. If you look at the macroeconomic scorecard of the US, what do you see? Debt to GDP ratio of 120 to 130% of GDP. The twin deficit is high. Unemployment rate is going up. There is no saving at all. They are now taking certain action that undermines the US dollar as an international medium of transaction and a store of wealth. If they were to do that, they would really be shooting themselves in the foot. That's why I come back to our exchange rate system. I actually worry more about the US dollar falling down sharply rather than the Hong Kong dollar being put under pressure on the weak side. I have full confidence in the linked exchange rate system. There's no doubt about that. In 1983, when I was involved in putting the link together, Hong Kong was a very externally oriented economy, and the US dollar obviously was the currency, international currency, a reserve currency. So the choice was very clear. If we want a fixed exchange rate, we'll fix it against the US dollar. Now, those two factors have not actually changed that much. We are still a very externally oriented economy. on the status of the US dollar, it's not going down the drain tomorrow. If you read two recent articles by Stephen Roach, very, very useful articles, he of course drew attention to the possibility of the US dollar losing its status, and he was rapidly rebutted by quite a lot of people by what he referred to as the TINA argument. There is no alternative, T-I-N-A. Now, that gets me a little worried actually, but it is true. There is currently still no alternative. Now, for how long? I don't know. If I were Stephen Roach and I was rebutted by the TINA argument, I would say, I'm O-inspired. Why would I say that O-inspired? A-W-E. Alternatives will emerge. It's a matter of time. We have a role to play in Hong Kong on that. I mean, we can meaningfully take the internationalization of the renminbi in the offshore market to a new dimension by introducing it into the capital markets of Hong Kong, making use of the renminbi as an additional, not an alternative, an additional currency for use in stock market trading. It's actually quite possible. If I were a foreign investor wanting to invest in China concept stocks and given the choice of incurring currency risk in the Hong Kong dollar or the renminbi, I may actually choose the renminbi rather than the Hong Kong dollar. I think it's something that ought to be pushed.